Google controls more than 90% of the world's search traffic. And yet, somewhere in San Francisco, a company with a fraction of Google's staff is pulling millions of people away from it every single day. Not with ads, not with a marketing blitz, with a search engine that refuses to give you 10 blue links. This is the story of Perplexity. And here's what actually happened. In August 2022, four researchers sat down to solve a problem they were all frustrated by. You type a question into Google, you get a page of links, you click, you skim, you click again. 20 minutes later, maybe you have an answer. Maybe you don't. One of those four researchers was Aravind Srinivas. He had worked at OpenAI, he had worked at Google Brain, he had worked at DeepMind. He understood language models from the inside. So did his co founder, Dennis Yaretz, who came from Meta AI. Their idea was simple: don't make search faster, make it answer you directly with sources you can check. In April 2023, this company was worth about $121 million. Small, unproven. Another AI startup in a sea of AI startups. Then something shifted. Nvidia invested. So did Jeff Bezos, personally, not through a fund. When the company that makes the chips powering the entire AI industry puts its own money into your product, other investors notice. By January 2024, the valuation had jumped past $500 million. 3 months later, Perplexity crossed unicorn status. $1 billion, less than 2 years after four people sat down with an idea. But raising money isn't the same as winning users. So, what was actually happening on the product side? By early 2024, Perplexity was processing hundreds of millions of queries a month. Not because of an advertising budget. The company barely spent on paid acquisition at all. Growth came from something simpler. People tried it once, and it solved their problem faster than Google did. Ask a complex question, get a direct synthesized answer, see exactly which sources it came from. No scrolling, no guessing which link is trustworthy. That's the entire pitch. And it kept converting curious visitors into daily users. By December 2024, the valuation had reached $9 billion. SoftBank's Vision Fund had joined the cap table. Query volume had climbed toward 780 million a month. Revenue was accelerating too, moving from tens of millions of dollars in annualized revenue toward triple digits. Think about the pace here. A company worth $121 million in April 2023 was worth $9 billion by the end of 2024. That's not steady growth. That's an inflection point. Here's the part that makes this story different from a typical startup comeback. Perplexity never positioned itself as an AI chatbot competing with ChatGPT. It positioned itself as a challenger to Google, directly, publicly, from day one. That's a bold thing to say when you're a team of a few hundred people going up against one of the largest companies on earth. Google has search dominance built over 2 decades. It has the browser, it has the phone operating system billions of people use. It has infrastructure Perplexity could never match dollar for dollar. So, how do you compete with that? You don't try to be bigger, you try to be different. While Google kept its core search experience mostly the same for years, layering ads and links on top of links, Perplexity built something that felt like asking a well read friend a question instead of digging through a filing cabinet. It expanded fast. A research and reporting tool, a browser called Comet, an API for developers called Sonar. Enterprise deals with telecom carriers, reaching millions of subscribers overnight at close to zero cost. Every expansion added another way for someone to bump into Perplexity without ever searching for it by name. By September 2025, the company closed a $200 million round at a $20 billion valuation. Total funding raised had crossed $1.5 billion. And by early 2026, that valuation had climbed even further, past $21 billion. Monthly active users were now in the tens of millions. Annualized revenue was approaching and, by some reports, exceeding hundreds of millions of dollars. In January 2026, Perplexity committed $750 million to Microsoft Azure just to secure enough computing power to keep up with demand. That's not the move of a scrappy underdog anymore. That's a company planning for scale most startups never reach. Is Perplexity actually beating Google? Not in raw market share. Google still processes far more searches globally than any single competitor. But that's the wrong question. The real question is whether Perplexity is winning the users Google can least afford to lose: researchers, professionals, students who need a fast, sourced, trustworthy answer instead of an afternoon of clicking through search results. Over half of Perplexity's traffic now comes from people typing the URL directly or opening a bookmark. They're not discovering it through a Google search. They already made their choice. There's risk in this story too. Perplexity has faced legal pushback from publishers over how it uses their content. Competition is intensifying, with Google folding AI answers directly into its own search results and OpenAI building search features into ChatGPT. The AI search category could get crowded fast, and crowded categories compress valuations quickly. Being early doesn't guarantee staying ahead. But here's the thing worth sitting with: a team that started with an idea and $121 million is now valued at more than 20 billion, competing head on with a company that has one of the widest moats in tech history, not by outspending Google, by making people ask a different question. Why am I still clicking through 10 links when I could just get the answer? Google still controls the search engine most of the world opens by habit. But habits are exactly what Perplexity is quietly rewriting, one direct answer at a time.